Hi everyone, welcome to the Lot of It. My name is Dana Normandy and I hold a lot of different hats. So, for those who know me personally, you probably know me in different areas and for different things. But to just briefly summarize for everyone, my professional career started when I was 16 years old. I enrolled in this program my high school was offering called the Running Start program, which allowed me to basically start college early. So by the time that I walked at my high school graduation, I was already a year into my college degree. Fast forward 2 years, I was 18 years old and I had my associates in computer science. Fast forward another 2 years, I was 20 and I had my bachelor's in psychology. Alongside all of that, I held other different jobs and professional roles ranging from like president of the student government and the honor society all the way to working full time as an IT technician for a public school system. And a year into that role, I ended up getting promoted to the full time job that I currently work, which is my title is Student Information Systems Coordinator. And so I essentially manage all of the data for the district. I do all of our state and federal reporting, and I manage our SIS, which is our student information system. And I make sure that, I work with our end users and support them, which is teachers, secretaries, principals, anyone who uses our SIS. And I make sure that they have good experience using it, and if they have any problems that, I'm the first line of defense to resolving those. Alongside that, I am a licensed realtor in 3 states. I do that part-time. And I also run AV events for the public school district that I work for. So any concerts or plays or other events that need lights and sound, I'm usually at working. And what else? I am the president of our union at the public school district that I work for. So once I finished my bachelor's degree, I went on to MIT to get a professional certificate in data engineering because in my current role, I am working a lot with data and I just got super interested in the really like nitty gritty of how everything works. And so I am currently still in that program, and that should end in a couple of months. And I just finished up applying for graduate school, so I am hoping to, go on to graduate school in the fall. So that is the professional stuff. Enough of the professional stuff. As a human being and a person, I feel very down to earth and well, it depends who you're talking to. And I don't mean that in the way of like, oh, I'm a fake person and I wear different masks and like one person I might be nice to and open to and then the other person I'm not, but I feel like it's just the reality of different people that you're talking to in different levels of comfort. Like obviously I'm more myself around my parents or my family than I am around my boss. You know what I mean? Like it's just different. So the way that I would describe myself is that I'm a very open and kind-hearted person, or at least I try to be. And I have a really deep passion for balance. And I don't know if that has anything to do with my like star sign. I don't know if it's I'm not super into that, so I don't know the exact terminology, but I do know that I'm a Libra. And so the like symbol for that is like the scale balancing and I don't know, but that is very true for me. I'm very much so about balance. Like I want, my work to be balanced with my meditation, to be balanced with my journaling session, to be balanced with my exercise, like where it gets to the point where sometimes, those closest to me and my loved ones are like, girl, like sometimes you have to work on one thing a little more than you're working on the other thing, and it's not always going to be perfectly balanced. So, yeah, I care a lot about balance and a lot about mindfulness, and I'm always consuming more information about how we can make our lives better, how, like, what are these loopholes in life, how can I get myself up in the morning and actually commit to that instead of clicking the snooze button 20 times and then running, literally running to my car to get to work on time. You know what I mean? Um, so yeah, that's just a huge part of my life outside of, my professional careers, because I feel like a lot of people know me just for, oh wow, she does a lot and she must never sleep, and I am a human behind that. Hobbies, I am figuring out. I used to not know what I liked to do at all, and so that is part of this journey that I'm on of self growth. But the hobbies that I have found out that I like thus far are yoga, um, reading, which I will obviously get much deeper into these throughout the life of this podcast because I have a lot to talk about. This is just a recap, but I love yoga, I love reading, I love spending time in nature. I Let's see what else. I just recently tried skiing. I loved it. Okay, there's definitely more. I'm doing really bad with coming up with answers, but yeah, I those are the things that come to mind immediately anyways. But I started this podcast because I ended up realizing that I didn't have anything that I worked on just for myself outside of professionalism. Like I wasn't doing anything in my life that didn't pertain to growing my experience, growing my resume, upping my salary. Like, you know what I mean? Like, from 16 to 20, that was the name of the game for me because I was so on a roll. And it was like, I'm 18 years old and I have a degree and I have a full time job and I'm making good money and this is very exciting and I'm just going to keep going. And there are so many wonderful, beautiful, amazing things to that season of grind, quote unquote, if you will. And I am in no way, shape, or form like hands up, done. Like I'm comfortable where I'm at. I'm constantly growing my knowledge and learning new things and pushing myself. However, what I started to realize is that here I go with balance again. Like there has to be a balance. Otherwise, you just completely burn out and then you burn out again and then you burn out again and again until you find yourself in this really dark hole of just like, why am I even doing all of this? And it's just a really, yeah, it's just a really shitty place to be. And that's where I was. And I had multiple crises. I don't know what the correct way to say that is, but multiple of those, and a lot of crying and confusion and just, which sounds backwards because it's like, girl, like you're 21 and you've accomplished a lot. So like chill out. Chill out, like you're doing fine. But really it's just that pressure, and I think that innate like want for me to keep doing better. And anyways, I'm getting very off track. I realized that everything I was doing from sun up to sundown was simply to benefit my career. Like I'm doing homework to get a degree, to get a higher paying job. Like, you know what I mean? Um, and so I finally realized that I needed a project that was more than just like doing yoga in the morning or writing in my journal. I needed a project that involved a lot of different components and was challenging in a lot of different ways, but it was for me and only for me. It had nothing to, the fruit of the project didn't even matter. It like, so anyways, if you haven't gotten the point by now, the project is this podcast. And so ultimately, to me, it doesn't, like, this isn't for money. This isn't to, like, slap it on my resume, like, oh, I'm an influencer as well on top. You know what I mean? This is just an outlet to talk about the things that I want to talk about every week, whatever that may be. And that's why I left it unstructured, because there were a lot of different avenues that I could have went. Like, I could have been like business girl or tech girl podcast, and I did not want to be confined to any of those categories, because I am a very, as we all are, very dynamic person with a lot of different interests and a lot of different things that I want to talk about, and I would like to be free and open to choose what that is every week instead of being confined to one subject. So that's where this podcast comes in. It has not even been easy starting out, just figuring out all of this equipment and recording and editing. And as a listener, you don't know what goes into the end result of what you're listening to. So, for example, this first podcast has taken months, like literally months, because I had to plan the podcast, pick out the name, blah, 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 all of that. And then ultimately, I got a microphone, I sat down, I recorded this first episode, and that took me hours because I got way too hung up with re-recording, and maybe that's just the perfectionism, but it was very hard. Finally, I recorded an entire episode, and we were good. And then I took out the card and I plugged it into my computer with the audio file, and I started listening to it, and I noticed that a lot of the words that I said that like ended or started with an S had like a very high pitched noise. Like like, you know what I mean? Like, but very, very, very bad, like embarrassingly bad. And I would not want to listen to a podcast that has such a high pitch. So anyways, I had to do the research on what that even was. I ended up finding out that it is called sibilance, and some of it has to do with just the way you talk, some of it has to do with the shape of your mouth, a lot of it has to do with your equipment and how the microphone is positioned, and do you have a pop filter, do you have a wind filter, all of these different dynamics that I didn't even know about. And so I had to completely change up my setup, and now I'm just rolling with the punches. And I think a little bit here and there I still have, like that like sound, but ultimately you got to start somewhere, you know what I mean? And it's a lot better than it was, so we're going with it. But I'm really excited to be embarking on this journey, because it's not only going to give me a passion project to work on and focus on just for my own peace of mind outside of the professional roles that I hold, but I also hope that this acts as a source of inspiration for you, because it just brings me so much joy when I'm able to make someone else feel seen. Like, if there was a mission statement for this podcast, maybe there should be. I'm just starting out, you know what I mean? If you're supposed to have a mission statement, I don't know, but we're basically making one right now. If there was a mission statement for this podcast, it would be to help others feel seen in their day-to-day life, in their struggles, in the mundane, in the highs and lows of life. Because that's what life's all about. There's highs and there's lows, and there's middle ground, and we just have to roll with the punches every day. You know what I mean? And I really appreciate people who make me feel seen in the shitty things that I'm feeling, or the difficult things that I'm dealing with, or celebrating me for the successes that I've had and the high moments. And I want to be that for you. I want to share my stories, and I want to connect with yours, and I want you to feel seen and less alone and more normal for just all of these things, just like this life that you're walking through, because that's life. There's way too much perfection online through social media and people curating their perfect lives and the perfect photo and the perfect video. And now with all of this filtering and editing, and it's just like crazy. And I feel like even the people who show, because it's obviously become more of a trend, if you're on social media and you're involved in this world, it's become more of a trend to share the ugly of your life. And so you'll see more people coming on and, girls like no makeup, like hair in a knot. And I feel like sometimes in those cases, the content is still curated to be sort of perfect in that world. You know what I mean? Like it's not like the real, raw stuff. I mean, some of it is. I'm generalizing right now. You get the point. But yeah, that kind of ties into the name of the podcast of like the lot of it, like everything, like the highs and the lows, the in between. We're just going to embrace it and we're going to talk about it all and we're going to roll with the punches together. And if I have a little, like a sharps, you're going to forgive me for it because ultimately I am stepping out of my comfort zone here and I'm trying to figure it all out. And yeah, you get the point. All right, enough of that. You know all about me now. We're best friends. We've covered that ground. Like it's all set. It's settled. It's settled. Now we can move on to the actual topic of this episode, which is actually ironic because we've basically already been talking about the episode because everything that I've been talking about is directly related to the topic today. But let's fully get into it. Let's fully dive in. We're going in now, okay? Listen, you guys, in a world that spends most of their time on screens, I am all for a healthy escape. Whether that's just stepping away from the screens or getting lost in a good book for a while, we need that break. And if you're looking for that kind of escape, you have got to check out sarahcrownbooks.com. Some people are born storytellers, and let me tell you, Sarah Crown is one of them. From recording her first stories as a child to studying under top Hollywood story experts like John Truby, she has built a life around words, weaving thrilling narratives with depth and heart. With degrees in psychology, education, and law, Sarah brings a unique perspective to her writing, one that grips readers and just doesn't let go. Trust me, her stories are the perfect way to unplug and dive into something unforgettable. Her latest novel, All These Threads of Time, is the perfect blend of heart-pounding suspense and mind-bending time travel. Set in the 80s, when Sylvie Mitchell discovers that she can jump through time, she's determined to save her family from a serial killer. But the past fights back in ways that she would have never expected. If you love mysteries with a twist and time travel that'll keep you on the edge of your seat, this book is for you. And if you're looking for more than just stories, Sarah's Substack called A Busy Lady is your backstage pass to her writing journey. She takes you behind the scenes with inspiration, writing tips, and more. Whether you're a writer, a reader, or just someone looking to live a more creative life, A Busy Lady will give you the tools and motivation you need. Don't miss out on Sarah's thrilling books and creative wisdom. Check out sarahcrownbooks.com for more information on her books and Substack. That's sarahcrownebooks.com. In stories, we find ourselves. All right. Creating for yourself versus for others. Yeah, there is a difference. There is a difference. What does it mean to create for yourself? So the way that I like to think about it is close your eyes, unless you're driving or doing something that you can't close your eyes, then don't close your eyes. Just use that brain and visualize. If you had a full day, you wake up, the sun is shining, you have nothing that you have to do for anyone on this day that you wake up. You do not have to go to work. You do not have to go to school. You don't have to do the dishes. You don't have to do the laundry. You don't have to vacuum. You don't even have to wash your face. You don't have to do anything. What do you want to do in that moment? Where are your little feet taking you? Is it to the park to take your dog for a walk? Is it to the movie theater to go watch a movie and eat popcorn? Is it to the couch to turn on your PlayStation or Xbox or Switch or whatever you use for gaming and play a game? Is it to pick up a book? Is it to pick up an instrument? Is it to go visit someone? You get the point. You know what I mean? If you have no other obligation, no one's mad at you, no one needs you to do anything, what do you want to do? And now another way to think about this is, what could you do and never ever ever get paid for it and still enjoy and find like immense joy from doing that thing and fitting it into your day-to-day life? So now flip the switch. You do, like, the responsibilities are back, babe. Like, they're back. You got to go to work. You've got to go to school. The dishes need to be done. You need to do the laundry. Like, yeah, you should probably wash your face. The responsibilities are back. What are you willing to add into that pile of day-to-day things that you still have to do? What are you willing to add into that and still give effort to, and are willing to do the reps and do the work towards, but will never be externally rewarded? If no one ever knew that you were doing this thing, no one's ever paying you for it, no one's giving you a high five, like, what is that thing? It could be the same things that I just mentioned. It could be taking your dog for a walk. It could be playing a video game. It could be working on a craft. It could be starting a podcast. For me, it was starting a podcast. Honest to God, if no one listens to this, that would be a little bit sad, because I would like my words and stories and whatever to inspire others. But regardless, this is a great way for me to vent. Like, just all of this equipment and the recording and the editing, like, it's fun to me. It's super fun to me in, like, this nerdy way. And if I was never, I mean, I'm not paid for it, but if I never ever get paid for it and no one ever listens to it, like, this is super fun and enjoyable to me right now at this time in my life. And anyways, that is the picture of creating for yourself. Creating an experience, creating a physical object, creating a life. That is how you know what you should be focusing on to create for yourself. And don't give me that, well, when I did that visualization, the thing that I thought of was staying in bed all day and sleeping all day. Like, that's the vibe for me, and that can't possibly be something that I can really tap into. And, like, no. Okay. I mean, we all love a little extra sleep, you know what I mean? But if that's, like, truly the only thing that you can think of at this point in time in your life right now, that's completely valid, and you can still turn that into something. You can still do more research on sleep stuff. I mean, people become full-blown doctors just in sleep. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying you have to go out and become a sleep doctor, but you can turn that almost into a hobby of reading books and watching YouTube videos. And there's probably even a class out there on sleep habits and sleep health and all this research on, put your phone away X amount of minutes before you go to bed and drink a glass of water and do a tap dance and then get under 3 sheets. And you know what I mean? Like, there's still purpose in that completely. Like, if you become a sleep guru, cool. How many people can you help with that? I had a friend come to me the other day and say, hey, like, I'm not sleeping. Like, have you ever had this problem? Like, I'm laying in bed and, like, I can't fall asleep. And then when I do fall asleep, I just wake up again at, like, 2 in the morning. And then I can't fall asleep again. And it's really messing up my whole day to day schedule. And how helpful could you be to my friend if you were a sleep guru? Like, you see what I'm saying? That's creating for yourself. That's doing something for you, not to clock in to a job, not to help an organization or a company or a foundation. That's just to grow your own knowledge and your own passion and purpose in this life. That's my 2 cents, anyways. If you're anything like me, perfectionism can definitely get in the way of trying to create for yourself because, listen, it's easy in a job or in school to get the things done that you need to get done, whether they're perfect or not, simply because they need to get done. Like, if it's Wednesday night and I have an assignment due at midnight and it's 8 p.m., I literally, like, I'm just finishing the assignment and I'm turning it in. And I don't mean, like, just submit junk and who cares and just fail out of college. But there comes a point if my perfectionism is getting in the way and I'm like, oh, this sentence in this essay must convey my deepest heart's desires perfectly. Otherwise, I'm not submitting this essay. Like, that's crazy. So for me, I've had to get over that and just be like, okay, it really truly doesn't matter if this one sentence conveys my deepest desires of my heart or not. It needs to get submitted and done. Cuz ultimately it just needs to get submitted because you are working towards your degree and you need to pass this class and then get your degree. And in work, I find it easy as well because it comes to the point where the work just needs to get done. Like, I mean, I feel like this is generalizing because everyone has different bosses, and some people have really bad bosses and some people have really good bosses, and then there's, of course, this range anywhere in the middle. However, generally, the work just needs to get done. So it doesn't really matter if the corner of a piece of paper that you're handing in at work is crinkled. You just need to hand it in. You know what I mean? Because they just need the work. And I feel like that's a very specific and, like, OCD example. However, I really, my mind is going blank on anything else right now, but generally, I feel like it's easier in the work setting and in the school setting to move past perfectionism because you have these other people who are expecting this work to get done. And so if you want to keep your job and if you want to get your degree ultimately, you have to provide, and it's easier, it, like, forces you to push past that perfectionism. However, with personal projects and passion projects and doing something just for you, creating for yourself, it is so much easier to get trapped in perfectionism because generally you don't have anyone on the outside that this even affects. Like, for me, with starting this podcast, it has been so easy to push it to the side and prioritize other things and not anything to do with this podcast because it's been like no one's holding their breath for this to go live. It's like I don't have a boss who's like, hey, I need this episode edited and published ASAP. It's just me. I'm my own boss. I'm my own professor. I'm my own person who's expecting this to get done. And so, therefore, it's very easy to not prioritize it. And then that's giving my power away. And that is giving your power away when you do the same thing that I'm describing. Because you're giving all your time and your valuable energy and you're just dumping it into these other people fully, like 150%, work, 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 school, school, school. And I'm just using those two examples because they're very pertinent in my own life, but I know everyone has different sets of responsibilities. So translate this into, how it relates to you. You're giving everyone else 150, 200%, and then your own passions and desires and projects are just left to die. Like, how is that fair to yourself? And then that's how we all become robots. Fully. That's how we all become robots, and that's how you start waking up every day and going to bed every night and being like, where did this day just go? I feel like I did nothing. I feel unfulfilled. It just absolutely sucks. And it's a slow burn. It's a slow burn because we're young and we're kids, and all life is playing and doing what we love. And then all of a sudden we have to start going to school, and that's fine for the most part. We have friends at school, and we're still, we still have recess and whatnot. And then high school comes around and it gets a little more serious, but it's still fun for the most part. And then college comes around, and for me college was very strictly serious because I didn't go live at college. But I can imagine for other people it's still, it keeps progressively getting more serious, but still with like a sprinkle of fun. And then ultimately dip one toe into the quote unquote real world, and you get a job, a full-time, 9 to 5, and all of a sudden you slowly find yourself in this position like 6 months in where you're like, whoa, what's going on here? Because I am dreaming about the spreadsheets at my job, and I'm not doing anything for me. And if you've realized that, props to you, because there are so many people who remain stuck and just like with a blindfold over their eyes, and they don't even, the slow burn just happens, and it just becomes life, and years keep going by, and then that's it. And so that's the difference between creating for yourself and creating for others. And I know that it's hard because ultimately, creating for yourself is not always going to be fun and pretty and aesthetic and enlightening and inspiring. It is still going to be hard work. Like, this doesn't just get, it's not just easy because it's something you enjoy. What if you enjoy physics? Like, that's still not easy. You know what I mean? That's a more extreme math based example. However, even something as simple as yoga, it's still hard for me to get up 20 minutes earlier in the morning instead of sleeping in and get on my yoga mat and do a yoga flow. I feel a hell of a lot better after I do it, but even mentally still, after doing it for quite some time, I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. I just want to rot in bed. I really just want to rot in bed. And so it's not always glamorous. It's still work, but it's work for you. And that is going to build and build and build on itself. And then it's going to snowball. And then all of a sudden, you're going to have passions and projects and hobbies and all these different interests. And all of a sudden, your school and your job and your other responsibilities, they're still there, but they almost become smaller in your brain because you're thinking more about the things that you truly enjoy doing. And then all those thoughts for you end up filling your mind, and it's just exciting again. It makes life exciting again. And you'll go through ups and downs. It's not this just progressive up, 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 and it just, never goes down. There's obviously hard things in life that we go through, and, dips that we take on that roller coaster, and we could be doing really good and doing a lot of things for ourselves, and then work and other responsibilities get more time consuming, and they have to take up a bigger percentage out of our days. But really what I'm talking about is switching that mindset between who am I creating for right now? because it's very important. There were not hundreds of ancestors that lived lives and went through pain and good times and bad times and lived a life and died to ultimately produce your birth and your life, just to wake up every morning, go to work and do everything that other people need you to do, and then come home and watch Netflix and then go to sleep and do it all again the next day. That's just not why you were born. You were born for like so much more. So much more. And that's not just going to happen like that. It's not just going to one day you're just going to, because everyone's waiting for that one day where you wake up and it's like, wow, my life is completely changed. I have no responsibilities anymore. I can now do all the things that I love doing. That day's never going to come. That day is never ever going to just magically appear if you continue to progress down this downward path of just creating for others and never for yourself. You're going to get to that day if you start slowly, 3 minutes a day, 5 minutes a day, doing something for you, creating for yourself, and then that's going to snowball. And then all of a sudden you're going to wake up one day and be like, I'm living a life that I love. I'm doing things for me. My boss's comment today about how I need to deliver this project faster than I am right now didn't bother me at all, because I trust that I'll get that done. I trust that I have a grip on my job and I will get that done. But that's not my identity anymore. It's not my identity. I still have these other projects and passions and things that light me up that I ultimately love. And that's what life is all about. And at the end of the day, we're all like specks of stardust floating on a rock in a universe. Like, are you for real? And I know it's very hard. This is ironic coming from me, who I feel like I am a person who I'm very up and down. I'm either taking stuff very serious or very unseriously, but that's just what being a human is all about. I hope that you feel inspired to take a deep, solid look at your life right now. What's working? What isn't working? What general percentage of your days go towards creating for others versus creating for yourself? Just do an assessment. Don't change anything right away. Just take a look at where you are and look at the data, look at the receipts, and then make educated decisions from there. And take those small things that do bring you joy, try to build on that and start small, because smaller habits are going to snowball faster than committing 3 hours a day right off the bat. And if you trust this process and you show up for yourself and you do the hard work for yourself and you recognize that it's not going to be glamorous and it's still going to be hard, you just have to choose your hard. You have to choose your hard. Are you just going to commit 100% of your day to the hard of work and the hard of school and the hard of all of your other responsibilities? Or are you going to commit 95% tomorrow and give yourself 5%? All right, guys, that's all I've got today. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you want to stay up to date with the podcast, give the Instagram a follow at The Lot of It Podcast. That's TheLotofit Podcast on Instagram. I look forward to seeing you guys next time. New episodes every other Wednesday.